What's up, guys? This is Keith Kalfas with the Untrapped podcast. We've got an awesome show for you. Joshua Latimer in the house. You just flew all the way here, bro. You live in Michigan, but where the heck were you, man?
Well, we're living in Texas for a year. We're in the Frisco area. So I was just glad that the flight happened because there's some weird stuff happening with airlines. So I'm just glad that the pilot showed up and flew me to Michigan.
I heard about that. Some funny stuff going on with the planes, man. So
yeah.
All right. So I want to talk about the 5 stages of business. And for those of you guys that watch my content, you know I've talked about Josh a lot. But for those of you that don't know him, he started out with absolutely nothing. And you built a window cleaning business from literally you all by yourself to like well over $100,000 a month. And you've automated all these different businesses and done all these cool things. But most of all, you're this super awesome family guy. You've got a wife and 5 kids and all these super high family values. But I want to talk about that in a little bit, but I really want to dive into this 5 stages of business because it's so important. So dude, just take the floor, man. Talk about it.
Well, the 5 stages of business is something that Brandon Vaughn and I kind of developed and put together many years back. It's not something we invented. I would say it's something that we observed, right? So if you look at companies that that build a turnkey multi-million-dollar automated business, if you look at those and you look at kind of the companies that are small, broken, stuck, right? They just can't get past cash flow purgatory, especially like the 300,000 to 500,000 range. People get trapped there for 22 years. You know, you have a family business that's kind of hanging out there. What you'll notice is that there's specific steps that need to be taken in the right order that 100% of these people took. And the people down here don't understand kind of what the next step is, or they're working on the wrong things in the wrong order. So that's essentially the origin story of it. What the 5 stages are is stage 1, the field. So if you spend 50% or more of your time working in the field doing the thing, then you're a stage 1 business owner. Stage 2 is when 50% or more of your time is spent doing administrative work. So what that looks like for like a lawn care landscaping company, you're still mowing and doing stuff, but you're in your truck with sticky notes freaking everywhere. And, and there's clipboards and like missed calls, and you're doing payroll and you're going to the bank and you're up till midnight, like doing CRM stuff. Once that starts to happen, that's a key indicator that you're a stage 2 business. Stage 3 is when your focus is on feeding the beast. So imagine you have several crews out. You have an office manager kind of crushing it and doing the tech and the payroll and the bookkeeping and all that, answering the phone, doing the scheduling. But your job is to make sure all these people have a paycheck and don't starve to death and quit because you're a terrible boss. And so you're selling. You're shaking hands and kissing babies and selling your face off and financially hyperventilating maybe a little bit in the early days. That's an indication you're a stage 3 business. Stage 4 is when you become a general manager. And this is a huge shift that people never make, because a general manager is a leader of leaders. They're not really managing as much, they're leading, right? So what that looks like with stage 4, it means that you have, at least your 3 department heads working for you. Mm-hmm. You have like a production guy over the field, right? Like an operations manager, whatever you want to call it. You have an office manager that might have a couple admin assistants under them. And then you have a sales manager with a handful of salespeople under them. So you're leading the leaders rather than herding the cats yourself. And there's a big shift in the way that you approach that. If you're successful there and the company gets big enough and your margins and your economics work, then you can go to stage 5. Stage 5 is when you hire a general manager or a CEO and you're truly just the owner, right? So a football analogy is you start out as a quarterback, and after, a while you can become the coach. But the real goal is to be in the press box in the big glass suite up there looking down in the field, and you're the guy writing the $90 million paychecks to the players, right? You might not get as much attention, but you're truly free at that point. That's the goal.
Dude, that was a lot. That's good.
It's a lot.
Now, I want to touch on real quick. So you talked about the 5 stages of business, but what about, how does that reflect in what's going on like at home and the home values? Because we did a whole video interview, and you guys can watch that. I'll put it in the show notes, where you talked about how things happening at home and belief systems and how everything is a system. Talk about that too.
Well, like if I do an interview or we do teaching, what people think that they want, what they crave, is they want to know like the tactic. Like, tell me what to do. Tell me what button to push. Tell me what spreadsheet cell to fill in with this number. What formula do I use? The truth of the matter is that, being successful with your business has way more to do with your identity and all the head trash in your brain than it does with anything else. And what's funny is if you look at your family, if there's, any family entrepreneurs, it's even harder for you, right? Because if you, have a kid, have a spouse, and have a startup business, that's like a Molotov cocktail waiting to explode, right? Like it's hard. Like these are three hard things mixed together and it creates this perfect storm, right? So it's hard. But if you look at your family, all it is people and systems. When you look at your business, it's people and systems. You have really good people and really good systems. It's almost impossible to not do well. And at home, we don't look at our families that way, maybe because it feels robotic, but you can systemize your family, and your family's identity the same way that you can create an identity for your business with core values and a vision and being able to cast that vision to the people around you. Why don't we do that with our kids? Why? That's what I say.
So that's quite a bit to unpack. And like I said, we did do a whole video on this. You unpacked it as much as you could. But you said that everything is a system, even if it's a system that produces results that aren't favorable. And that's really interesting to me because as you talk about that, I'm thinking of all these thoughts in my own life and you guys listening and watching this. So the way we react, the way we behave, the way we think and respond is all systems. Everything is a system.
Everybody watching this, your business is already fully systemized. Your family is already fully systemized. You and your own brain is already fully systemized. The question isn't, do you need systems? You have them already. The question is, are they the ones that we want? Are they serving us well? Are they taking us to the final frontier that we've set for ourselves? Because they're leading you down a path one way or the other. People just don't realize they have control over the path. The final destination is something you can decide and you can aspire to. But there's just so much head trash going on. But the way you talk to your wife is a system. The way that you look in the mirror or step on the scale and hate yourself or have shame is a system. The way that you fly off the handle and get angry because a fast food order got messed up and your 7-year-old son watches you freak out, that's a system, right? Not only for yourself, but now you're transferring that system to them. And so you got to get really cognizant of thinking about it like that. It's probably a new concept for a lot of people.
So you said the word control. Some of us in our lives or in our business, we aren't even aware that we can unconsciously become what the term is kind of like control freak, or it's because we're actually afraid to give up control. How do you grow and let go of that stuff? So like, we went out to dinner before this podcast and you said I seemed a little bit stressed. Mm-hmm. And then you said something else before I could even like really respond. You said, it seems like you have a thing, you're afraid to drop the ball with anything. You're paying attention to all these things at once and it takes a lot of mental bandwidth. I want to explore that a little bit more right here and how somebody can pay attention to that.
I mean, I can go there if you want, and I don't want to make too many assumptions. I've known you a long time, but one of the things that's interesting about you, Keith, is that even today, with the level of success you have, it's very evident to me that you're terrified to make a mistake or to look stupid or to drop a plate, drop a ball. Now, you're not alone in that, but you have an almost irrational fear of not being perfect. And small business owners struggle with this a lot. And it gets even harder when you're doing too much stuff. Yeah. I also think part of the reason that you do so much stuff is that part of it has to do with how worthy you feel of success, right? So if you don't suffer to get the big result, then you don't feel like you deserve it, right? It has to be painful to make a lot of money. If it's not painful, then I've committed theft or something, right? Like you're a criminal. And so there's this weird internal battle.
I love it. As you're talking like this, my face is getting hot. My skin's getting hot because everything you're saying is resonating. What is that? I'm obsessed with that.
It's an identity thing. It's a worthiness thing. I said in the other video we made that the only way to be successful is to deserve it. And at first glance, that almost sounds like a cocky, like, oh, I guess you just deserved it because you're written. That's not what I really mean. What I mean is a better way to word it would be the only way to be successful is to believe you deserve it. And most people truly do not believe they deserve it. Another thing that's interesting is that desire isn't the same as hunger to me. And everybody, if we could see everybody watching this and I said, raise your hand if you want me to wire you $1 million into your checking account. Like, I'll pay the taxes, pretend this is real, do this cheesy experiment with me. Raise your hand if you desire me. I'll push a button. If your hand's not raised, you don't get it. Everybody's hands raised getting $1 million. You're going to get $1 million. I'm going to push a button, put your hand, boom. 99% of people put their hand up. because who wouldn't want $1 million for free, right? Mm-hmm. So the desire for $1 million is one thing. And then if I told everybody, hey, keep your hand up if you have $1 million in cash in your checking account, how many hands would go down? Like almost all of them, right? So there's a disconnect between reality and results and desire. Everybody desires things. Why don't they have what they desire? Well, it has to do with what they believe specifically about themselves. And if they deserve it, if they're worthy of it, you know, people like us, I don't know, I grew up on welfare. I used to be an addict, or I was bankrupt before. Hey, I've been bankrupt before. I've had cars repossessed. I've had all kinds of horrible things happen. I've made, you know, by the way, making money and keeping money are totally unrelated skill sets. They have absolutely almost nothing to do with each other. I've gotten really good at this one. I'm working on this one, right? So investing and doing things different. So it's a whole long journey. But at the end of the day, if you don't believe that you're worthy of success, that you deserve success, you will sabotage your own success every single time.
I love it. And it's also on a gradient. I was talking about some of the goals I had with you to hit a certain dollar amount in a month. And when I hit that, which was like the $60,000 month, a couple of years ago, that seemed impossible to me. And what you said rings true, is because like when you hit it, immediately you're thinking about,
you move the yardstick.
You move the yardstick again and again and again.
And that doesn't stop, right? It's like it can go. That's why I'm huge on telling people to celebrate the little wins.
Yeah.
I think I told you when I had one employee of my service company, we did an annual Christmas party with one person. Okay. I stood up in a restaurant, did an award ceremony. The guy's face turned beet red. He was like, this is the dumbest thing, but like I memorialized it. When we had certain milestones that might be small by someone else's standard, we try to memorialize it. I'm not perfect at any of this stuff, but these are good ideas that you can apply that will help you, especially if you have a wife and kids, because if you're grinding all day saying, no, we're going to take that family vacation. We're going to pay that credit card off. Don't worry. And you're just gone. You know, your family can't see the vision that's in your head. And the only way you can bring it back to them and make them real is to memorialize the milestones along the way. Hey, we got our truck wrapped. We're going to have pizza tonight. Truck wrap pizza party, right? Or we hired our first employee, or I finally got out of the field. Whatever it is, you have to constantly bring it back and show it to the loved ones, or they're going to get fatigued while you're running around like a maniac.
Sorry, man. I got a friend who's like that, and he's become a multimillionaire, and yet he doesn't even realize, and it's never ever enough. Mm-hmm. And it's fun because I'm watching it happen. It just rang really true.
It's dangerous. You know, no amount of success in business can compensate for failure in the home. If you fail at home, you are a failure, period. I don't care if you're a billionaire. I don't care if your number one primary objective on this planet, if you're married and have kids, is to raise young adults to become good men and women. I ask my kids, I say, what's my job? They say, to help me become a good man. That's what my boys say, right? Because that is my job. The purpose of their childhood is to prepare for adulthood, right? And so business is cool. Making money is cool. But, you know, we glorify that stuff too much, and we have too many like rental Lamborghinis on Instagram with people acting cool. Listen, you know what's really cool? Is raising a 14-year-old that understands things most college students don't understand. I think that's cool. It's raising a family of warriors who can step outside into smog, which is the enemy. My kids, you know, we have this fictitious enemy that we're fighting against, which represents schools, the media, other people's opinions, and big government, which is a whole nother conversation. They know who they are. They know where they're going, and their identity is rooted in confidence, because we've been intentional with the family systems ever since they were little.
I love it. And perfectly what you said with family systems, you're doing these things. Josh has this thing, like you have 5 kids, you have Maverick Monday. Every Monday you spend like undivided time with your son Maverick. And Tucker Tuesday, you have Saturday night date nights with every, like, systematized. And then you've evolved this whole thing in these family systems into this thing called the Kid War Plan. I've been seeing you posting this on Facebook. Where is this thing at?
I brought one by my backpack. It's over behind you.
I'm getting it.
Okay. I'll play Jeopardy music while we wait.
Talk about that.
Well,
this thing is insane, dude.
This is like, you know, going from a service company and the software company and just doing normal business stuff. This is not a normal business stuff. This is basically like my life's work as a father put into a book. Because what I realized working with a lot of business owners is they're overwhelmed. They're not having the types of conversations and teaching moments with their kids that they know they probably should. but they're in survival mode, right? There's strain at home, there's strain at work, and it's an infinity loop. And before you know it, your kid's 16 years old or 18 years old. And so what this is a 90-day journal for kids, and it teaches them entrepreneurial principles, mindset, leadership, business, marketing, economics, personal finance. I mean, in high school, they don't even teach kids what a credit score is in a lot of schools. Like, what a basic thing to be an adult that you need to know. Kids are going to know what propaganda is, the difference between socialism and capitalism. They're going to know what a republic is, what sovereignty is. They're going to know what a credit score is, a bank account is. They know the difference between an asset and a liability. They know what courage is, right? The definition of courage is doing what you know is right, even while you are afraid. Right? If you ask my 6-year-old right now, she would tell you that. I say, Finley, what is courage? Doing what you know is right, even when you're afraid. It's important they know these things. In this book, it looks like it came out of The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings because it's handmade with real leather and everything. This is like a family heirloom for your family. And it teaches in a very kid-friendly, fun way that gamifies it. It teaches these types of ideas to young people.
I love it. I want to see it. What's inside?
Well, first of all, they're literally, truly handmade, and it's real leather. They're all actually different, right? We just ordered our first 1,000 of them, but even like the cuts on the leather are different in each one. There's nuance. A human being hand pounds in this embossed logo and these rivets, right? The paper is handmade paper out of cotton. They print on the pages with metal printing plates because you can't run this type of paper through a printer. And so it's pretty much a nightmare to create, but we did it that way because it needs to feel different when you hold it, and when your kid holds it, it needs to feel important.
Let me see it. This is sweet. For those of you listening on the podcast, and you can't see it, go to the Untrapped podcast YouTube channel or look this thing up. Look me up on Facebook and look up Joshua. How can they find you? I'll put a link below.
You can just search for my name, Joshua Latimer, on Facebook. Yep. And if you could put a link, if they want to check out the Kid War Plan.
This is insane. Cool. The Kid War Plan. I love it. I saw the videos on the website of you have your son speaking. How old is he?
He's 14.
He's talking and teaching super hyper, high level stuff.
Well, there's 90 concepts taught in this.
Yeah.
And he made a video to go along with every single one. So he has 90 videos, but they're all shot like YouTube fun style. So you can consume it and really understand it. And that's included as a free bonus when people get the book.
Super awesome.
Yeah. We're having fun.
One more thing, side topic. You just got back from Florida and you were speaking at an event?
Yeah, actually, I was speaking at a pooper scooper convention, which is so funny. It's like 6 months ago, a friend of ours had asked if I'd do it, and I'm like, we're kind of busy, and then she said it's a pooper scooper convention. I said 100% because I want to be able to tell people that I spoke at a pooper scooper convention for the rest of my life. So I'm in. So it was fun.
Man, I love it. And you have a podcast too, right?
Yeah, the Growth Vault podcast. We have over 1 million downloads on that bad boy. Done it for a long time. There's over 400 episodes, a lot of good interviews and just tactical things to grow your service company.
It's really good. So that's awesome, man. You started with absolutely nothing. I remember you telling me a long time ago you had this 1990 Chevy Cavalier or something with
93
with the ladder strapped on top.
Cherry red with the perfect amount of rust. Yeah, with a ladder on the roof, not the ladder rack, like on the metal roof. It rubbed all the paint off the roof, and I used ratchet straps to tie it down. And I would hide that car when I go do estimates. Like literally, I'd hide it and like walk 2 blocks back, do the estimate. And then when I come to do the job, you could see the homeowner like looking out their front window like, what did I do? Who did I hire, right? But there's no shame in that. Don't despise small beginnings. I love that that's true now. It wasn't that fun at the time. But I kind of romanticize it now because it was a big deal that I did that. I'm proud of that. And I see guys online that have their trunk open with a pressure cleaner hanging out the back or whatever, and everybody likes to jump down them and call them losers and idiots and make fun of them. I want to slow clap for these people because some of these people's mindsets, the way they were raised and abused and stuff, for them to have the cojones to throw that thing in their trunk and go knock on some doors is epic. I mean, beyond epic. It's like climbing Mount Everest. Not everybody grows up with a good set of parents who teach them all the keys to the kingdom when they're young. A lot of these people are 25 years old and they don't know anything yet. And so for them to step out and take that, more power to you. Don't stop. You will succeed. And you'll have the last laugh.
Epic, dude. Powerful. I love it. All right, man. It was awesome having you on the show. I'm going to have you on again.
Thank you, bro.
Guys, that's Joshua Latimer. Check him out and look him up on Facebook too. All right. I'll see you guys in the next episode. And one more thing, go to Apple Podcasts, type in the Untrapped podcast on Apple, wherever you're listening, but please leave the show a well-worded 5-star review. It helps boost the rankings, and we really appreciate you. And we'll see you next time.